bunch of Man versus Nature. Nature is literally carrying away pages of a book and walking away with it. And the jungle is taking over the house, okay? So no one's been cleaning it, there's cobwebs there. The tea bush became jungle, branches with their arms in the windows, which ties to the jacaranda tree, the arms, the last one with Layla. So he set this up earlier with the snakes in the Kegal one, where the snakes are coming into the house. Nature is coming in and like interrupting man's life, and they're blasting with a shotgun and trying to get rid of it. Here, it's an abandoned house, and nature is winning. Okay, so you could do that. You could look totally at that. You can't ignore the dad. You have to talk about the dad. You could ignore the Shakespeare. You could technically ignore magical realism, but you can't ignore that he's trying to make sense of his relationship with his dad.
Do you know what the title of the chapter where he referenced the mayor as being Sri Lanka pretending to be the European?
Yeah, it's the Tabula Asia one.
What is it?
Tabula Asia. It's one of the first ones. It's this one, 63. 64, where he's talking about, is that what you mean, the map part?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
it's
don't
talking,
remember which one it was.
yeah. This one. So again, it's referencing all the things he's trying to make sense of about his dad, so you can parallel to anything that's been setting that up. Okay? Does that make sense? So his score, so he got a 5 on knowledge of the text itself and where it goes in the text. He got an 8 on interpretation and personal response, mostly because he needed to do more style. I had to ask him that. 9 on organization because he stuck with his dominant effect and I think was persuasive, and 5 on language. Even though he was like sniffling and stalling, his language was high. I mean that can't impact your score.
It was so
If you say and it gets in the way of my comprehension of your argument, that hurts your score. But if it's
So rather pausing.
pause and think. Yeah.
Which you can
Pausing does not hurt your score. If you pause and you lose your train of thought by doing that, it hurts your score. If you pause just to be more confident, you're fine. The good thing, we can see you. We can see what you're doing. We can see why you're pausing.
Compared to 47, yeah.
So what was his like?
He was doing, so a lot of you, when we talk about outlining tomorrow, what he was doing is he had an outline on one page and he had things marked on the passage, and he lost his place. Like he went to the outline and then he couldn't find where he was going. So we're gonna look at that tomorrow. Like you need to make arrows or color codes or something so you don't, like when you look up, you don't go, oh my God, where was I? Okay, Camille?
If you were to draw a parallel of the portion of the passage to another page kind of book, do you have to be really specific of where it is in the book, or can you just...
The more specific you are, the higher that category A is, but you don't have to. I mean, anything you can do to prove how it fits in the book as a whole, you're good. So, for instance, like the one that Wilder and I practiced on today, her whole argument was about, it was this one actually, and her whole argument was about how Ondaatje realized the predictability of his family and how everything was under control. Hasn't read the book, okay? Nothing is controlled in this book. The family is absolutely not predictable, okay? So her whole argument doesn't make any sense. Even though she did, and this is why I say you have to prove it through specifics, she did drop some other passage titles, but she had no idea what she was talking about, okay? Saying that this family is stable, totally predictable, and that Ondaatje loves that he can control that. No, different book, okay? Different book. So she could have used like the idea of like, because she could have talked about wanting to control your past and nature controlling you. She didn't do that. She just talked about how she also talked about how he was more concerned with the beauty of the country than anything about his past or his family. Nope, that's why he went there. So, and it's just like, if your interpretation is so far-fetched that you can't back it, that hurts you on the context. Yeah, Bart?
So we're gonna have like all the colors we want for when we're outlining.
Yeah, we have highlighters, colored pencils, sticky notes, those little arrow things to mark with.
Do we bring our own pens?
You cannot bring anything in.
What?
If you tell me what you want, I will bring it in for you.
Really?
Yeah. Because for me personally, if I don't have a pen I like, I can't do it. Yeah. So you could deliver those to me and I'll have them there for you.
Okay.
Because, you know, for all I know, you might have little things written and rolled up in your pen, right? So just tell me what it is. and I'll bring it.
Will you bring me a bed?
That's all.
Yeah, you can have food in there. Yeah, I wouldn't be like munching away while you're talking. That's kind of awkward. You can have food.
We're going
Yeah.
nuts. Cashews.
Okay, so does this make sense? Do we need to do more with this one? Yeah. Okay, so Arnell is asking, like, what happens if you choke up on a follow-up question? Okay, so like, meaning you can't answer it, or meaning
Like you start going with it and then
stumble.
you just drop it, sort of?
Kind of depends how well I know you. If you're making eye contact with me and I'm trying to figure out what the hell's wrong with you, then I will fix the question. Okay?
Like
It just depends. Like if you're just like looking down and I have no idea why you're struggling, then I'm like, okay. Usually I say either like if I ask you something, like I asked him about tone, and if he had just like been totally stuck, I would have said, like for instance, on line 6, how would you name that tone? Okay, like I would make him look at something. Or if I ask him something that clearly the look he gives me is I have no idea what you're talking about, I would try to rephrase it and make it bigger or more specific. It happens.
I mean,
It
if he says
happens.
something stupid though, could it go back and hurt our
It
score?
does go in your score. It does go in your score. It doesn't hurt, the only thing it doesn't hurt is the presentation score, because however organized you were up to that point, that's where you are. Okay? But yeah, it doesn't happen very much.
Did it ever like kill you down to 0 if you said something really terrible?
The only way that it would really drop you drastically is if, Will, can I use you as an example of what happened today with yours?
Oh yeah, with
Okay, so Will did a practice one today, and the whole time he was talking about Suffolk killing her kids, he was saying it was at Sweet Home instead of 124.
Oh,
And he
I
said
still
it
passed.
multiple times, okay? But everything else that he said, I knew he knew what he was talking about. Plus I know, because he's been talking in class, like I know he knows this book. So on the oral, I might have said something like, could you tell me again the setting of this and how that compares to where she came from? Like I might do something to make him see that, because he also had it written down wrong. It was just a glitch. Like it just, you know, and once he said it multiple times. So if I said that to him and he was like, yes, it's at Sweet Home, I'd be like, okay, you really don't know what you're talking about, right? So I try to and Wilder does too, we're trying to pick up on the things that we have questions about. He also said that she killed Beloved in a cabin. And if you tie cabin to Sweet Home, he's really thinking Sweet Home. And if he'd said shed, then I would have been like, where's the shed in Sweet Home? Okay? So, but he switched it. He switched it. So it just, you know, my goal is to fill in the holes in your score. If you're missing something, I will ask you and hope that you just missed it, not that you don't know it. You know, especially something like on Shakespeare, like if you didn't do any structure, I might say something about the use of iambic pentameter, and if you're like, I don't know what that is, that will hurt your score. Okay? Like, you need to know that. Yeah.
So the questions at the bottom, when we're doing our orals, should we just try to work this into our response, or like address the questions like?
No. So the questions at the bottom are never meant to be addressed like as questions. Like you should never say in answer to question number 1. No. This is our way of hinting to you, if you look at it and you freeze, these are 2 things that you could focus on. One is always content, one is always style. It's just to help you if you freeze. You can completely ignore them. And if you ignore them, I would never ask you again. Like I would assume you're intentionally ignoring them. Right? So I would never be like, hey, I asked you about this and you do it. But don't, they're just because people like tend to look at it and go, I've never seen this in my life. And you have. And this will help you look back at it.
Hey, Miss K.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
What if we like say the question out loud? Will I go? What's this teacher doing? Ask him questions on paper.
No, we're supposed to give you 2 guiding questions, and we're supposed to when they ask for samples, we send this so they know what was on there. But I guess if you feel compelled to do that, I would approach it as like, in looking at the guiding question, it made me think about da-da-da. Like I would address it as that, not as I feel compelled to answer a question. Like it should be woven in.
So what if you draw the passage and you completely blank on ID, content, like everything, the guiding question doesn't help? Are you completely screwed?
Like you've already done it and I asked you a question and you blank on, or at the beginning
Or
you
like
blank.
at the beginning, like when you're trying to outline it, you're like, you just can't figure it out.
Okay, so this is another thing that Wilder and I disagreed on today. For me, when you open your envelope, I'm going to ask you what it is before you ever start outlining, and we're going to fix it. Because I do not want you to go spend 20 minutes outlining with me knowing that you can't pass
I
this.
love you.
Okay, that's not okay. But, however, that's what I said. If I know you haven't been doing anything, I'm not going to do that for you. Okay, people who I know have been trying, I'm going to help you because
Bless you.
what I mean, how awful? I'm sitting there for 20 minutes going, great, this is NAF. You're going to
Okay,
fail.
yeah,
Like,
that's not a
so
story.
I have you do that, and I usually say, like, would you like to rethink that or something so that you can do that. Wilder does not think that's necessary. However, he's also okay with you not IDing or placing it.
Yeah.
So that's where we're working on this because that doesn't make sense. So it doesn't. Yeah. So we're still working on that. No. Only one of us is in the room with you, and it is the one you have. It is the teacher you have. Okay. With the exception of there are two people who, on those afternoons, he's going to have them draw. He says he'll let them draw, and I'll come in. But I'm going to fix that. Like I'm going to be there. It's not okay. It's not fair for anybody. It's not fair for two people to have Wilder draw, with them, and they don't know him, and then everyone else has their own teacher. That's not fair. So.
It's afternoon.
What?
Does that mean you have twice a day?
I have double what he has, yeah, because I have two classes. So his point on the ID of placement, and we're negotiating this tomorrow, so maybe you'll know tomorrow around 9, I don't know, we're still going to discuss it in the morning, is that in his opinion, you can show adequate understanding, adequate knowledge of the context without doing that. I agree in terms of if you accidentally say it's like, say, Macbeth Act 3 Scene 1 and it's Act 3 Scene 2, but everything you say ties to what happened in Act 3 Scene 1, I would never hurt you on that, but I wouldn't go above a 3. Okay, because that's why you need the plot to prove you know what's going on with you. But if you say, this is Act 3 Scene 1 and you're talking about events that happened in 5/8, that's a problem, right? So that's where he and I disagree. He's saying you can build the context with other things. I need you to build it with plot or some common thread so that I know that you actually know where you are in the text. So that's why I'm harsher on that because that's how I help you get that score too. So, we have a review at 9 tomorrow morning. If there's no bloodshed before that between me and Wilder, no, I'm just kidding.
But really, it's not.
Wait, where's Mr. Wilder?
No, it's at 9. Yeah.
Are the orals going to be here in the ID workroom?
The orals are in the IB workroom.
Okay.
Yeah, the little office part that's
Yeah,
student
in the
office
back-
where
in
you
the
prep,
back.
and then the back corner.
Okay.
Yeah. So Wilder will probably be in his office during a lot of mine.
Wait,
But just in his
the
office.
has a window going down the middle?
Yeah.
So he can just be like.
I mean, he'll be there, but it's all walled off. I mean, there's paper all over it. He's not paying any attention. Believe me, we don't want to listen to any more of these than we're listening to. There's no reason he would pop in and listen. It's not.